Julian was a playboy and a libertine. No one could have imagined that I would be the one to marry him in the end. A mediocre, ordinary, even worthless devoted suitor. After marriage, he put on a show of being a good husband for a year, then revealed his true colors. He was plagued by scandals, with the scent of different perfumes lingering on him. Everyone thought I had no choice but to forgive him and clean up his messes. I took one more look at him as I cleaned up another mess for Julian. He smiled with the corner of his mouth raised.
Didn't you know what I was like before marriage? If you can't stand it, you can get a divorce. But are you willing to?
I breathed a sigh of relief and clenched the divorce agreement I had drafted. Julian firmly believed that he was the ultimate goal I could ever achieve. But that was not the case. There was a saying circulating in the upper class about me, Mrs. She is more like Julian's crisis public relations than his wife. Everyone knew that when Julian had a new scandal, the first person to turn to was me, his wife. Because I could always smooth over these gossip news in the most perfect way, time and time again. The first thing I did when I opened my eyes every day was to check if there were any new scandals about Julian online. On the day when the news of Julian and Wendy's private meeting spread across all platforms, I hadn't had time to check it yet. A phone call rang urgently, and I answered it. Julian's mother's voice was stern.
Hurry up and handle this. If it affects the company's image, there's no need for you to come back to the old house for the Mid-Autumn Festival.
On the way to the hotel, I quickly pulled up a plan. Contact Mr. Xavier of Star Glory Media and ask him to lend us a female director surnamed Zora. Tell Wendy's agent to rush to the hotel. Spread the word that Wendy is here today to discuss a new drama with director Zora. Her clothes. I pointed at the screen. It's Chanel's new spring style this year. Get someone to send it to room 866 of the hotel within 20 minutes. When I walked out of the elevator, I saw Julian surrounded by reporters in the hall. There was a trace of impatience on his face, but he restrained himself and maintained his grace, smiling.
Have you taken enough photos?
Mr. Song, was the woman who entered the hotel with you really Wendy? As a popular actress, why would she be willing to be your mistress?
Julian looked at him with a half smile.
You can't say such things without evidence.
The man immediately said.
Someone took photos.
I walked over quickly and slipped my arm through Julian's arm nimbly. Honey, why haven't we left yet? What's wrong? Why are there so many reporters? I asked in surprise, as if I had just seen the reporters. Julian turned sideways, looked down at me, and a playful smile flashed across the corner of his mouth. I flicked my hair, showing off the same clothes and hairstyle as Wendy in the photos openly to everyone. Of course, my face was not even 1,000th as beautiful as Wendy's, but the photos were taken last night, blurry in the dark, and the face didn't matter. I smiled appropriately and said, Cloudview Hotel has just opened. To give customers a better check-in experience, my husband and I stayed here for the night personally to see what needs to be improved. Our hotel's facilities and services are pretty good. If you journalists need anything next time, I'll ask the manager to give you an internal discount. The people I arranged outside had already uploaded the photos of Julian and me online by then. Public opinion was clarified, and the hotel was promoted in the process. The aggressive reporters couldn't dig up any dirt, so they asked a few perfunctory questions and left. There were still many onlookers in the hall, and I still kept smiling. On the way to the garage elevator, Julian suddenly reached out and wrapped his arm around my waist. He turned his face to look at me, looking satisfied.
Well done this time, Mrs. Song. You've improved again.
I straightened my back and maintained an elegant and decent posture. Hearing this, I still put on a fake smile and didn't say a word. Wendy didn't leave. She sat in the car, and her stunning face showed from the car window. Julian's gaze moved from her face to mine, and his disappointment was undisguised. A beauty's anger is charming, and she lost her temper with Julian.
Your people are really slow, making me hide for so long.
She glanced at me, looking unhappy.
She looks like this, how dare she dress the same as me? Who is she trying to disgust?
Julian said indifferently.
Enough. What right do you have to throw a tantrum at me? Know when to stop. Do you really think you're still the 20-year-old Wendy?
Wendy's face turned pale. She bit her lip and looked at me, unwilling.
If I hadn't refused to bow my head, this position of Mrs. Song would never have been yours.
I held my handbag and still gave her a faint smile in return. The 20-year-old Wendy really had the capital. After all, Julian had even put up a symbolic resistance to his family for her for a while. A great beauty is different from someone like me. Julian's mother only talked to her once, and she felt insulted and left the country in a fit of pique. If she hadn't been so arrogant, the position of Mrs. Song really wouldn't have fallen to me. I got in the car, leaned forward to start it, and took one more look at Julian out of the corner of my eye. We had been married for nearly 3 years, and every time I saw his face, I couldn't help but sigh that he was damn gorgeous. And of course, damn good in bed too. Julian glanced at me and asked,
You haven't said a word all the way. Are you angry?
I didn't answer, and the car started. He twirled a lighter in his hand and smiled nonchalantly.
Didn't you know what I was like before marriage? Isn't it a bit late to be angry now? You're not like Wendy. She's at least nice to look at when she's angry. You look like this. You'd better get angry less, or you'll be even uglier.
Julian had always had such a sharp tongue. From the first day we met, he told me clearly. With a face like mine, he would find it a bit off-putting to actually date me. To be fair, my looks were not ugly, just a bit plain. But compared to the top looks of Julian and Wendy, anyone would say that I was a toad trying to eat swan meat, a flower inserted in a pile of cow dung like me. After all, which toad in the world doesn't want to eat swan meat? Perhaps very few can actually do it, and I should be proud of it. After another cheating scandal, Julian didn't even bother to apologize and fell asleep as soon as he hit the bed. I stood by the bed and looked at him for a long time. His arm was propped on his forehead, his black hair was messy, and his skin was fair. I reached out and ran my fingers from his forehead down, across his sharp brow bone, high straight nose bridge, and thin, delicate lips. His looks were a gift from God. Breathtakingly beautiful, no exaggeration. Not only that, he was also born lucky. He was the only son of Jingchuan Group, had everything he wanted since he was a child, and everyone pampered him. God was really unfair sometimes. I brushed open his shirt. My 5 fingers swept across his pectoral muscles and slid down to his mermaid line and sexy abdominal muscles. At 18.9 centimeters tall man, even his figure and skills were top-notch. Julian closed his eyes and grabbed my wandering hand.
Don't make trouble. I'm tired. I'll give it to you tonight.
I pulled my hand back, picked up a tissue by the bed, and wiped it slowly. Before going out, I paused and turned back. What came into view was this bed, where Julian and I had many crazy intimate moments. I had an ordinary face, and every time he was aroused, he wouldn't look at my face. But sometimes he would rather turn off the light, rather take me from behind, and do it over and over again. Julian never tasted the same delicacy twice, so he would never understand that eating the same dish year after year would make you tired. I thought I was getting a bit tired of Julian. I thought it might be time to quit him. The next day, I drove to Julian's mother's villa as usual. When I arrived, Julian's mother was directing the servants to prune the flower branches. She only raised her eyelids slightly when she saw me. I sat on the sofa as usual and turned on the computer to handle work quietly. She liked to make things difficult for people. Every time I came, even if there was nothing to do, she would make me wait for a long time before deigning to talk to me. At first, I only dared to sit on the sofa motionless and wait for her to finish her work. Later, I thought it was a waste of time, so I mustered up the courage to bring a computer. She only took one look and didn't stop me, so I developed the habit of working while waiting now. After I handled several projects, she spoke slowly. You did a good job this time. She put down her teacup and looked me up and down, a trace of disgust flashing in her eyes.
If there's nothing else, think about how to fix that face of yours. Otherwise, you can't keep your husband, and he'll always be seduced by those vixens outside. What's the use of doing well in your career?
I closed my computer and obeyed humbly.
Julian has grown up looking at a great beauty like you. No matter how I fix myself up, he'll still think I'm ugly.
I had a lot of money now, but I never thought about getting plastic surgery or medical beauty treatments. I didn't want Julian, who clearly married an ordinary woman, to enjoy the treatment of his wife suddenly turning into a great beauty. Julian's mother's sharpness faded visibly.
All right, go back if there's nothing else. Tell Julian to bring you back to the old house on mid-autumn night.
She didn't like Wendy, and naturally she couldn't like me either. Both of us came from ordinary families, but Wendy at least had a pretty face. But at that time, perhaps I had chased Julian for so many years that I moved him, or perhaps he wanted to go against his mother. Whatever the reason, I married Julian as I wished. At first, I really wanted to please Julian's mother. No matter how she made things difficult for me, I would endure it. But her pickiness was sometimes too bizarre.
How can you open your knees like that when standing?
There are a few split ends in your hair. Why don't you think about taking care of them? People in our family would never wear high heels of this brand. Also, why do you show so many teeth when you smile? It happened that Julian was not too bad to me at that time. When I was really wronged sometimes, I would whisper my grievances to him. But he would only look at me, lean forward and pinch my chin, and smile. Look at you. Ordinary looks, ordinary family background. Apart from being a bit good at studying, there seems to be no part of you that is worthy of me. You married above your station. If you don't endure a little grievance, how can those wealthy ladies who can't marry in feel? He was so beautiful that even when he said such harsh words, his eyes were full of affection. I was always too tolerant of Julian, but I don't think it was my fault. If you had really seen such top-notch looks in real life, you would understand me, understand the power of such top-notch beauty. Sometimes when you look at such beauties, you even feel that your brain can't work. You will think that everything they do is right, and even if it's wrong, there are hardships and excuses for it. People with good looks, even if they have a bad temper, people will think it's their personality. I withdrew my gaze and looked at Julian's mother, my voice calm. I'm here today to talk to you about divorcing Julian. For the first time, I saw such a shocked expression on her well-maintained face. What did you say? She regained her poise after a long time.
Are you crazy? How dare you mention divorce casually? Don't you think that mentioning divorce will make him settle down?
I took out a USB drive, plugged it into the computer, and turned the computer towards her. As I moved the mouse, her eyes widened little by little. I showed her all the evidence of Julian's infidelity over the past 2 years, without missing a single bit. How did you? Her disbelief was beyond words. I could understand. Everyone thought that when I cleaned up Julian's scandals time and time again, I must have destroyed all the evidence the first time. Because I loved Julian too much, and I was too reluctant to let him go. Only by covering up his scandals could I continue to be Mrs. Song, deceiving myself. No one in the world wanted the evidence of Julian's infidelity to be wiped out more than I did. She couldn't speak, so I said for her. I won't leave the marriage with nothing, but I won't ask for the moon either. I only want 50 million yuan. 50 million yuan is just your pocket money for a year, just a small amount.
If Julian and I can't get a peaceful divorce, I will choose to sue. But once I sue, these scandals can't be suppressed anymore. So buying me off with money is the best way. After all, you never liked me anyway. After I leave, you can choose a daughter-in-law you are satisfied with.
When we got married, Julian didn't think I would ever be willing to divorce him in my life. So he even bothered to draw up a prenuptial agreement. Logically speaking, I could take half of his fortune, but that would be a protracted war with a very low chance of winning for me. I thought Julian's mother would be angry, furious. But she was stunned for a long time, and suddenly asked,
Did you really love Jinghan all these years when you chased him? Or was it just for money?
My hand paused, and the next second, I returned to normal. Love, of course I loved him once. As Julian said, apart from being good at studying, I had no other strengths. Someone like me would never have crossed paths with him in this life. But I was really good at studying, and I was admitted to Julian's high school as a top student by special approval. My family was not poor, but it could only be said to be ordinary, so ordinary that at a certain moment, I felt that I could see the end of my life. Especially with a face like mine, if I was capable, People would only call me the nun of extinction. In the end, I might pick and choose, and under the pressure of the world, find a man to settle for, and muddle through life with the trivialities of daily life. When I saw Julian for the first time, I couldn't move my eyes for a long time. At that time, the boys in the class shouted,
Wow, even the blackboard eraser can look at men.
The blackboard eraser was my nickname. They thought that a tool like a blackboard eraser that could solve all problems was the most suitable for someone like me who was good at studying but ugly. Amid the commotion, Julian looked at me with no waves in his eyes. I didn't stop the others from making a fuss, because I knew I had no chance to get close to him. So I could only let my love circulate through rumors, making me have a presence in his ears from time to time. I never took the initiative to say I liked him, but I would always appear by Julian's side at the right time when he needed it. For example, when he had been in a relationship for 3 months and wanted to break up, and the other party threatened to commit suicide. He was cruel, but he was also afraid of human life, so I would run to the hospital for him. For example, when he met a girl he didn't like and was annoyed by her pestering, he would pull me over.
This is my sister. She hates beautiful girls like you the most. I can't help it. I'm a sister con, so I will never find a beautiful girlfriend.
The other party rolled her eyes and left. Julian leaned against the wall and asked frivolously,
I heard you like me too?
I never took the initiative to say I liked him, so I shook my head. No? I just think you're very beautiful. Studying is too stressful, and looking at you makes me relax. This was the truth. If he hadn't really looked down on me, I would have wanted to try a further way to relax. He was satisfied then. That's right. I would also feel pressured if you liked me. Because I was not good looking, any beauty being pestered by an ugly person would have nightmares. In those years, I watched Julian play around and be unrestrained. I never thought about changing my appearance to become the type he liked. Because Julian liked too many types, bright, coquettish, pure, dignified. He liked every one of them. In the college entrance examination that year, I was the science top scorer in the province and was admitted to the best university in the country. Julian's grades were not as good as mine, but his family had money, and his money let him go to the best university in the world. In college, I either went to school or worked part-time, and all my money was used to buy plane tickets. I flew abroad to see Julian at least 3 times a year. He never refused me. When he saw me appear in New York for the first time, he smiled and said, You've become a bit prettier. I knew this was just a polite remark. I just dressed up a little more than in high school, and at best I was not ugly, not pretty. When Julian was abroad, he didn't stay in one place for long. Maybe in Paris this month, and in Switzerland the next. In the days when I waited to see him, I taught myself multiple languages to pass the time. I still remember in Berlin, I spoke fluent authentic German in front of Julian. The look of surprise in his eyes when he looked at me at that moment. If I said I loved money, people would say I was ugly and money-grubbing, and be on guard against me everywhere. But if I said I loved a man, they would only think I was a poor, devoted suitor, and then let down their guard against me with money. I was very good at acting. I usually acted like I loved Julian more than anything. So no one knew that I also loved money, as much as I loved Julian. If I had suffered for so many years just for that pretty face, it would have been too unfair. But if I said that while sleeping with a top-notch handsome guy, I also became a wealthy lady and achieved class leap, people would only think I was really awesome. When I walked out of Julian's mother's villa, I felt refreshed all over. After all, getting her to agree meant half the battle for the divorce was won. As for Julian, divorce should be a good thing for him. At least getting rid of me would make him feel relaxed for a while. As soon as the car drove to the company building, my phone rang. Julian's name popped up on the screen. I answered it, and before I could speak, there was a noisy voice on the other end. I recognized it as the group of Julian's childhood friends. After 3 years of marriage, Julian never took me to meet his friends. Perhaps my looks were really too embarrassing for him, and he always avoided taking me out to be laughed at. But I never asked to go either. Those young masters were not necessary for me to meet. I had no resources to obtain from them. Even if I did, I would use my own methods. instead of relying on Julian's charity. The people on the other end didn't seem to realize that the call had been connected and were still talking eloquently.
Brother Han is still awesome. With just a face since he was a child, he's popular with both the young and the old. So many people would die for your face. Absolutely. His wife guards against women outside like a tiger, wishing to tie him to her hand.
You should see how his wife chased him for so many years, defeating countless vicious beauties to get this position. How could she not keep a close eye on him?
Sister-in-law is really devoted. No matter how Brother Han plays outside, she'll compromise with just a beckon.
I heard Julian laugh, probably seeing how long the call had been connected. He didn't hide it at all, just clicked his tongue. The next second, I heard his voice, lazy, like a reward.
Come to Cloud Gathering Club tonight. I'll take you to meet Gavin and the others.
He paused, tapped his fingers, and said casually.
Remember to put on makeup and wear a bright colored dress.
When he said makeup, it was certainly not the level I could do myself. In the past few years, I have had a special makeup artist for important occasions. Julian's friends were not important enough for me to dress up as I did for important occasions. I didn't reply and hung up the phone directly. When I entered the company, I devoted myself to work without a moment's delay, and Julian's matter was thrown out of my mind long ago. I was good at studying and capable. Except for this face, I could shine everywhere. After marriage, I strived to enter Jingchuan Group. The Song family only agreed casually, thinking of making me suffer. But in just 3 years, I entered the core position of the group and made many outstanding projects. In the club, Julian waited until night, almost midnight. Everyone sat with him in silence, and the warm atmosphere of drinking at first gradually cooled down in the wait. Julian sneered, threw his phone away, and looked around at everyone.
Is it strange? Isn't this how women get angry?
He seemed to be seeking approval.
It's not only great beauties who have the right to throw a tantrum. If her husband has a too big scandal, it's understandable for her to lose her temper occasionally.
Hey, I think she's just getting bold with you.
Gavin pushed the person who was speaking, gave him a look and said in a low voice.
Haven't you seen his face is as black as coal? Why are you asking for trouble?
All right. Brother Han, why don't we call it a day first? Next time we will definitely have a chance to meet sister-in-law. The crowd dispersed, and Julian sat alone in the box, sneering in his heart. Fiona, she was really getting bold. The phone on the sofa rang, and he pressed the speakerphone. Julian's mother's voice, hating that he couldn't live up to her expectations, echoed in the room.
Your wife is going to divorce you, and you're still fooling around outside.
Julian didn't lift his eyes, didn't take it seriously, and teased.
That's a big joke. Be careful not to hurt your back, Mom.
When Julian came back, I was still taking a bath. The divorce agreement was on the table, and he could see it at a glance. When I came out, he was sitting there, having read it several times. There was no shock or anger on his face, only an indifferent nonchalance. After reading it, he threw the agreement on the table casually and looked me up and down. This time, he didn't say that I looked even paler after taking a bath as he used to.
50 million yuan is enough to send you away?
He raised his eyelids, full of mockery.
Your appetite is really small. You actually love money. Isn't being Mrs. Song more profitable? Far more than 50 million yuan?
50 million yuan was actually a lot indeed. If I followed the ordinary trajectory of going to work and saving money, it would take me at least 10 years to earn 50 million yuan. But now through marriage, I got such a large amount of cash in just 3 years. And besides the 50 million yuan, this marriage also gave me connections and resources. The title of Mrs. Song, even after divorce, was still resounding and useful enough when I went out. It's no wonder that the gap between people is like a chasm. 50 million yuan was negligible to Julian, but it was enough to pay for my marriage. I looked up at him. It's a lot. If you're willing to add more money, I'd be happy to accept it. He smiled and nodded.
Fiona, a person should know their place. If you don't have that talent, don't learn from those women outside. Want me to settle down? So many women who are more beautiful and excellent than you. Can't do it. Why do you think you can?
I looked at him in confusion. You should be happy that I can be sent away with a little money. Why are you getting angry now? Or, I teased him tentatively. Do you have feelings for me and start to be reluctant? After I finished speaking, a mocking smile tugged at Julian's mouth.
In this marriage, you've always been the only one who was reluctant.
He raised his chin arrogantly.
But Fiona, I think I need to remind you that once the position of Mrs. Song is vacant, it won't be so easy to get back.
This was the truth. From the first day I knew Julian, he had never had a dry spell. Often, he would be pestered by another beauty the second he broke up with the last one. He was open to all comers. Even if he wasn't in a relationship, he needed someone to eat with by his side. Julian returned to his nonchalant look.
Fiona, a divorce can't blackmail me. If you insist on trying, I'll give you time to come to your senses.
After saying that, he pulled the agreement indifferently and signed it with a flourish of his pen. As Julian let go, the agreement fell from the air like a fallen leaf. Just like our ended marriage, like dead leaves falling from a rootless tree. He opened the door and walked out, holding the phone to his ear, talking to someone I didn't know. I squatted down and picked up the divorce agreement, one page at a time. The divorce process took a little time, and after it was over, the 50 million yuan in cash was transferred to my bank card without a single cent missing. Before leaving the villa where we lived after marriage, I sold all the luxury goods in my hand for cash. Before walking out of this villa, I didn't take a single piece of luggage, empty-handed just like when I came. I turned back and looked at it, no nostalgia, just a little regret. Julian and I did have a good year together. At that time, he always got off work on time and would come home to watch movies with me and make plans with me. I actually had no requirements for his loyalty, and even thoughtfully omitted this word from his wedding vows for him. So in the first year of marriage, his unusual behavior made me a little dizzy, as if I had been hit by luck. I thought I was the chosen one. So what if I had plain looks? I made a prodigal son turn back for me. Unfortunately, the shelf life of his loyalty was really too short, and a prodigal son would never turn back. Perhaps those 2 years had consumed too much of my emotions, so I pulled myself out of this marriage extremely quickly. At the age of 27, I used the funds and connections and resources to build my own company, and tasted the feeling of holding real power for the first time. The first major client of the company was the famous Star Atlas Group. Vincent, the helmsman of Star Atlas, the eldest grandson of the third generation of the Wen family. When we shook hands, he held mine lightly and restrainedly, a fleeting glance at me. But I looked at him a few more times. Before coming, I knew everything about him from his information. The only surprise was that he was very young and handsome. Although not as stunning as Julian, he was upright and handsome. I never thought I would stay away from men for the rest of my life. But after experiencing someone as top-notch as Julian, my taste had long become picky. The first time I saw Vincent, I thought he was worthy of me. Besides, compared to a top wealthy family like the Wen family, Jingchuan Group was a little inferior. And my life, Fiona's life, would only move forward, never backward. I wrote casually on the paper. Vincent, male, 32 years old, hates strong perfume, only drinks black coffee, loves history, loves playing unpowered sailboats. Unpowered sailboats. A dangerous free sport with a strong sense of control. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to play it. 2 weeks later, I stood at the private dock, checking the ropes and adjusting the sail angle skillfully, my movements neat and not like a novice. The sea breeze lifted the hem of my clothes, and I sailed out steadily with the wind, the course accurate and beautiful. I raised my eyes and met Vincent's gaze head-on. He was standing on the viewing platform, his expression calm. I curved my lips, nodded to him politely, just a slight nod. A man in Vincent's position never lacked people who took the initiative to approach him. Besides, dealing with men relies on attraction. It's best if he comes to you on his own initiative. At the second cooperation meeting, when the tea was served, I said softly, "I like black coffee. Could you please change it for me?" After saying that, I met Vincent's gaze, my eyes falling on his cup. What a coincidence. Do you also like black coffee, Mr. Wen? I smiled naturally. Vincent tapped the table and ordered,
There are new coffee products in my office recently. Make a pour over for Miss Fang to taste.
I thanked him generously, lowered my head and flipped through the project plan, and the gaze on me only moved away after a long time. Vincent would never attend such a meeting in person twice in a row. My project presentation was almost perfect, and Vincent's gaze lingered on me for a while longer. After the meeting, Vincent and I walked out after everyone else. I stretched out my right hand, and he still held it lightly.
There's a sailing race I initiated in Linbin on the weekend. Would you be interested in coming, Miss Fang? Of course. It's my great honor.
On the weekend at Linbin Wharf, various sailboats were moored on the shore. Vincent was dressed in light gray quick-drying clothes and pants today, less cold and hard as in the business world, more fresh and neat. When boarding the boat, the hull shook slightly. I just stretched out my hand, and his palm steadied my forearm first. After setting sail, Vincent steered the boat, and I cooperated with adjusting the sails and trimming the hull beside him, our movements tacit. The boat sailed to the center of the sea, the world was open, and the only sounds around were the waves and the wind. He suddenly slowed down the speed and looked at me.
You know more about sailing than I thought.
I lowered my eyes and smiled softly. Really? Before coming, I still said that I would be thankful if I didn't hold you back, Mr. Wen. Vincent chuckled, his cold face melting like ice. Later, Vincent and I would have dinner together occasionally, talking about the project. Until that day, I opened WeChat and sent him a voice message. Mr. Wen, do you think there is no possibility of success at all for Wei Yan's Ziwu Valley strategy? Within a few minutes, Vincent sent more than a dozen 60-second voice messages in a row. After a long time, he called directly.
I can't explain it clearly on the phone. I'll pick you up and we'll have dinner together, talking while eating.
I was a science student, and I spent half a week sorting out this damn history of the Three Kingdoms. This was the first time I saw Vincent talk so much, eloquent and animated. I listened carefully, and from time to time expressed my confusion about a certain part and raised my hand to ask questions. This meal lasted 2 hours just like that. Vincent sent me downstairs, leaned forward, and unfastened my seatbelt for me.
See you tomorrow,
he said gentlemanly. Strange, what were we going to see tomorrow? No meeting, no date. I smiled and nodded, and a pearl earring fell off accidentally. Old tricks are never outdated as long as they work. On the weekend, I was invited to attend the completion ceremony of the Wen family's suburban manor. Most of Julian's glory came from the shade of his family, but Vincent, as the founder of Star Atlas Group, most of his confidence and edge came from the country he built with his own hands. Getting along with Vincent made me feel very relaxed and happy. At the ceremony, I was arranged in the VIP seat. Vincent did not avoid everyone's gaze, walked to my side, bent down and whispered a few words to me. After he left, the people who recognized me pointed and discussed behind my back. I smiled indifferently, straightened my back and sat upright. When they discuss me behind my back, I know I am ahead of them. However, for a moment, I felt a chill on my back. I turned back subconsciously and met Julian's dark eyes. He had arrived at some point, sitting with his long legs crossed, staring at me expressionlessly.
No wonder you were in a hurry to get a divorce.
In the ginkgo corridor, Julian put his hands in his pockets and blocked my way.
It turns out you already found a new man. You're really fast.
I raised my eyebrows. Fast? I think it's slow. Thanks to you, with my cultivation over the years, it only takes 3 days to win over a man. Why was it so slow? Because I was enjoying the process. And what the process was self-evident. After all, Julian and I never had a real relationship. What made him unacceptable was that I was actually in a relationship with Vincent for real. I didn't have much expectation for Vincent at first, but the fact that he was a virgin made me very excited. Anyone who can stay single until the age of 30, whether male or female, is a stubborn mule. So I didn't mind spending a little more time and energy on Vincent. Julian pursed his lips, his jawline tight.
Who cares?
I nodded politely and turned to leave, more unrestrained than him.
Hey, that's the former sister-in-law.
Gavin stared at the back.
That's Fiona. right? She's not as bad as you said. She has a good figure too. I think she's about 170 centimeters tall.
If your eyes are broken, go see a doctor.
Gavin changed the topic.
By the way, that's Vincent. Didn't they say he doesn't like women? Fiona is really amazing to win him over.
Julian disdainfully.
Can't you see that man is just playing with her? Over the years, besides me, which decent man would look at her face?
Gavin sighed. But just now when Fiona stood there, several men stared at her secretly. But he chose to shut up and not say a word. How could a person be so conceited? I never thought Julian would be so childish. Sowing discord in front of me.
Do you think she really likes you? You're just a stepping stone too.
He acted like a person who had been there, pointing out the world. When she chased me, she was even more enthusiastic than now. After using me and getting what she wanted, she still kicked me away. His tone was like an accusation, a complaint, and a trace of unwillingness. I took a deep breath and was about to speak. Vincent gently wrapped his arm around my waist and reached out to pat Julian's shoulder. A good husband should be his wife's ladder to the sky.
As a man, you should be proud of this, not hold a grudge.
I looked at Vincent, and his eyes were comforting me. I never thought that those ingratiating methods could hide from him. So those methods were sometimes full of loopholes, and I couldn't have taken the next step if he hadn't played along. I wasn't afraid that Vincent would see through it. I just wanted him to know that I was putting thought into him. Julian's gaze lingered on our clasped hands for a moment. As he passed me, he left a sentence.
Fiona, men are no good. Do you really think you will get the happiness you want?
To be honest, I don't know. But at the age of 28, I married Vincent. When I was 16, I went back to my hometown, and a neighbor caught a glimpse of my palm by chance. The lines were messy, crisscrossed, a mess. She concluded, "Your palm lines are messy. You won't have a wealthy life." But at that time, I read a sentence. Don't believe the lines in your palm. Believe the power of your clenched fist. Before marriage, Vincent and I drew up an agreement. I wanted my career to be independent. He had a huge business empire, so he would naturally not covet my company. So he said nothing, followed my wishes, and even took the initiative to add favorable terms for me to the agreement. Vincent and I became a famous loving couple in the circle. Vincent had been immersed in the family business since he was a child and had an extremely keen business talent. He could always point out the key to the problem with just a little effort when I was stuck in a bottleneck. Your competitor is suppressing you with low prices, but they ignore their own supply chain shortcomings. What you need to do now is to link the suppliers in your hands to form differentiated competition. As long as you take the lead, you can win. He rarely came forward to solve troubles for me directly. Most of the time, he chose to teach a man to fish rather than give him a fish. No one had ever cultivated my business thinking in such a systematic way. Even in those years at the Song family, I was alone, groping my way forward by feeling the stones. Vincent was generous, breaking down his years of business experience and teaching me bit by bit. A woman stands at 30. My life reached a stage peak in my early 30s, with a happy love and a successful career. In these years, I leveraged all my connections and abilities to push the company I founded single-handedly to list on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, with a market value reaching billions of yuan. After a period of stability and achievements, I began to consider having children. I thought a daughter would be nice. Vincent had thick eyebrows and big eyes, and fair skin. It would be great to have a daughter who looked like him. That night, I was going to share this idea with Vincent. But I saw an inconspicuous lipstick mark on his collar. He didn't know anything about it, and even looked a little angry, explaining to me carefully. For the first time, I forgave him, but I never mentioned the child again. Later, I sat quietly in the car and saw the young and pretty female assistant. At the same time, I received a message from Julian.
I told you a long time ago that he's no good either. At least I'm openly bad, honest, and above board.
In fact, the day before I married Vincent, Julian called me drunk.
Fiona, I promise you I'll never make such a mistake again. Can you not marry him?
Facts have proved that men's promises are useless. Julian has not remarried all these years, because after going through me, He knows he can't stand the constraints of marriage. He won't get married, but I know he has never lacked company all these years. He seemed excited to finally catch Vincent's handle and take the opportunity to get in.
He cheated, so it's only fair that you cheat too. I even thought of the person for you. Think about it.
Along with this sentence came a photo of himself. I'm not crazy. Even if I find a lover, I won't find someone like Julian. At the age of 32, I proposed a divorce to Vincent, ending our 5-year marriage. When divorcing, Vincent hesitated for a long time to sign. He didn't agree. He sat on the sofa, looking out the window, and turned back after a long time.
When Julian cheated, you cleaned up his mess for 2 years. For the same mistake, you didn't even give me a third chance here. Fiona, in the end, you still love him more than me.
I have been thinking why men's morality and bottom line can always be easily broken through. After thinking about it, the root cause is only one reason. He is a man. I looked at Vincent, did not refute, only said, "Sign it." Before leaving, he made a promise to me.
I'm sorry I didn't keep my promise to you. In the future, you can come to me for anything you need.
According to the agreement drawn up that year, when I divorced Vincent, I got equity, as well as a lot of real estate and cash. Julian and I never loved each other. When I left him, I felt relieved. But when I left Vincent, I felt a little regretful. But it doesn't matter, life moves forward. Fate will metabolize, and even the deepest things will become shallow in the end. At the age of 35, I met another man worthy of me, and thus ushered in my 3rd marriage. When Julian found out, he had been watching me for years and finally broke out.
Fiona, are you a marriage maniac?
He didn't necessarily miss me that much. But all these years, he was always unwilling, always thinking that I would regret it and cry my eyes out. After marriage, I still took full control of the company and made major strategic decisions. But based on Zachary's special identity, I reduced the frequency of my appearances in public media, and few people knew about our relationship. That year, the territory of my group expanded again, with business all over the world. At the dinner table, I said I didn't like drinking, and all the wine glasses were removed the next second. Several young girls sitting at the end of the table looked at me with bright eyes and smiled. I suddenly remembered that after graduating from university, I worked for a while and also went to dinner parties. At that time, even though I looked so unremarkable, I still couldn't avoid being forced to drink at the wine table. The so-called wine table culture is just a test of obedience, a trick admired by incompetent people. A woman who can sit at the wine table never needs to play these power games to prove herself. At the age of 38, I ended my 3rd marriage. Zachary thought his wife should not show up too much outside. This old codger was really ridiculous. Why didn't he think about it when we got married? At that time, he swore that his wife, Zachary's wife, should be like this, showing her talents and pursuing what she wanted. Men are like this. When they get old, their hearts tend to become narrow-minded. Once a man becomes a stumbling block, he must be kicked away, otherwise you will be finished. Fortunately, Zachary really treated me sincerely all these years, and I have got what I wanted. At the age of 40, my boyfriend was 18 years younger than me. He was beautiful and fresh, calling me sister around me, saying I was really beautiful. No, I have never been beautiful. My nose is not high, my eyes are not big, and my face is round. I am really not beautiful. Julian still didn't give up and recommended himself when he was 40. I looked at him with a critical eye. Talk about cooperation? You don't have the qualification to sit at the same negotiation table with me now. I said it a long time ago. If it weren't for a good family background, Julian would not have the ability to be above me in Jingchuan Group. Besides, the current Jingchuan Group, if it wants to cooperate with me, it will have to go through several layers of connections. Talk about love. I paused, every word piercing his heart. When beauty fades, love wanes. Julian, you're old. Julian's only advantage in front of me had already disappeared. What did he have to compete with the young and beautiful little boy? To this day, Julian will never understand. My girlish thoughts were never about loving him, but about the ambition to be better than others. It was sharpness, arrogance, and endless wilderness, a stream flowing into the sea. My girlhood started with the goal of looking down on the whole world. And now, the world is at my feet.